Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is that time again. It is book review time. We are doing our April book reviews. I cannot believe it is already May. Isn't that insane? Like, it's so insane. I have my notes over here. So I have to tell you, I read 5 books in the month of April. It could have been more, but I hit kind of a little bit of a slump, and I think it had to do with the very first book that I finished. So I actually started reading it at the end of March, and then I think I finished it the 1st or 2nd of April, and the book kind of left me kind of like, what the heck did I just read? And I was having some issues getting into any other book after that point. I just could not. I started reading 2 or 3 different books and just could not find one that really just piqued my interest. So I think I did not even start reading another book until around the 10th or 11th of April. So I think that's why I've only read 5 books, because then after that, the last 4 books that I read went by super quickly. I read them super quickly and they were all really good. Not that this first book wasn't good. It just left me feeling unsettled. It's kind of like last month I had that one book that I told you guys that just had a lot of disturbing content. This one's kind of the same. So I have my notes over here. You guys know I like to refer to my notes because I don't want to forget things, and I write these notes down throughout the month as I read the books. And I just don't have the best memory, and it just keeps my thoughts all straight if I have my notes over here. So the first book I read for the month of April was called What Lies Between Us by John Marrs. I gave it 3 stars. I was very conflicted on how to rate it. I honestly, in my mind, I don't know if it's more 2.5 stars or more 3.5 stars or 3 stars. It's just, yeah, I have some thoughts about this book. The Goodreads rating is 4. That's another thing too, is I feel like books that I struggle with, I tend to have really be high rated on Goodreads. It's so crazy. But let me tell you, this is not the first book by John Marrs that I have read. I read The One a couple months ago. And plus I've had other people tell me that one of his other books, I cannot remember the name of it, tell me to read that one because it's really good also. So I love his writing. I feel like his storylines, all of them are very creative. I've read the synopsis on a couple of his other books, and it's just very creative, very unique storylines. So that is one thing that draws me towards his books. I also feel like he tends to be on the darker side, which again is something that I do like to read, kind of those darker psychological thriller books. So again, that draws me in. This book is about Maggie and Nina. Every other night, Maggie and Nina have dinner together. When they're finished, Nina helps Maggie back to her room in the attic and into the heavy chains that keep her there. Because Maggie has done things to Nina that can't ever be forgiven, and now she is paying the price. But there are many things about the past that Nina doesn't know, and Maggie is going to keep it that way, even if it kills her. In this house, the truth is more dangerous than the lies. So that's the synopsis on the book. This book is so full of twists and turns. It takes you all over the place. You're going in the past, you're in the present, you're on the different points of view. But I just could not find myself like feeling anything for these characters. Like I feel like, I don't know, it's just, I feel like they were just so despicable, which is fine. Usually, you know, you have 1 or 2 characters in a book that you're supposed to hate. But I could not find anything redeeming about either one of these characters. Like, I did not care for them. And maybe that's how you're supposed to feel about them. So maybe you could say he wrote these characters very well if that was the intention. But I feel like there needs to be somebody in the book that you feel something for. And I just did not feel something for either one of these. You know, at least most of the time I will find one character to root for. In this case, it was just kind of like, I don't really care either way. When you find out the situation, it gets a little disturbing when you find out why and who it is and all of that. It gets very disturbing. The book is very well written. John Marrs is a very, very, very talented writer. The plot is definitely interesting and unique. if you read a lot of psychological thrillers like myself, this one is definitely different than the typical psychological thriller that seems to follow, you know, a certain structure and a certain type, and you know, you usually have a killer, or you have a mystery, or you have something going on that you have to figure out. This one is definitely different than that, so it makes it very, very unique. Honestly, I felt like this book was more about a dysfunctional family drama than suspense and thrilling and mystery, you know. And to me, it was just more about, yeah, this is a dysfunctional family is what it's about. I think those are usually called, like, what, domestic thrillers, I think is what those are called. I would say it was more leans towards that than psychological thriller. But here's the thing. If you go out there and look at the reviews, it has a ton, I mean a ton of 4 and 5 star reviews. So people like it. I mean, so maybe it's just me and I'm being picky, but I feel like definitely, as I always say, as a reader, people enjoy certain things, and some people won't enjoy it, some people will. So I'm just telling you, there's a ton of 4 and 5 star reviews out there, so it is just quite possible I am just being way too picky about this book, and maybe just the family drama aspect of it, I was so unsettled by that part. I think it really was skewing how I felt about the rest of the book. Book number 2 was called The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I gave it 5 stars. Goodreads average is a 3.88. Knew from the very first chapter that I was going to love this, and it was going to be definitely a good one, and I would be able to finish reading it. There is just so much going on in this book that I love. You have a love to hate romance, which is one of my favorite tropes. You have a fake relationship romance. You have a workplace romance. Honestly, it's like it's all in there, which I absolutely was there for all of that. The premise of the book. So we have Shay Goldstein. She has been a producer at her Seattle public radio station, and she absolutely loves her job. She's been there for years. She constantly finds herself clashing with her coworker, Dominic Young. Yes, Dominic Young. Dominic is younger than Shay. He's a recent college graduate from a master's program, which when you read the book, you will totally know what we're talking about there. And he's also new to the station. The station managers announced that the public radio station is not doing very well and there's going to be layoffs. But they also want to try to bring some new show to the station to try to get it back up and the ratings back up. And so they're asking for anybody who has any ideas. So Shay proposes a new show called The X Talk. Her boss is really, really excited about it, and he loves the concept. And she's happy that she gets to keep her job, for one thing. But here's the catch. The station manager wants her and Dominic to do it because it's very evident to everyone there at the station how much they hate each other. And they're always going back and forth, this banter back and forth on how much they just argue, and they're always clashing. And they said that would be great radio if you two were the ones that were co-hosting the show. In the beginning, both Shay and Dominic were a little bit hesitant to even want to do the show, but because they have to say they were dating first and then now they're exes, and that's the whole reason for the X Talk. And they didn't want to be misleading to their listeners. However, they also didn't want to be on the unemployment line. So it was kind of like this or not having a job. So they went for this and decided to do it. Well, the show becomes a huge, huge, huge hit. And they get to be really popular, and as their popularity grows, so does their feelings for each other, which, I mean, going in, you know that's totally going to happen. I absolutely adored the dialogue between all the characters. So you not only have Shay and Dominic at the forefront of there, but you also have all the supporting characters who are all so great. I mean, just every conversation that anybody has with each other, it is so natural, so realistic. I absolutely love it. All the characters are great. You're gonna love all of them. Lots of swoon-worthy moments in this book. Some surprising turn of events, which are great. You laugh, you cry. There's all the feels in this book. All of the feels. So this is the very first book I've ever read from this author. So I'm definitely going to be out there seeking some other books that she may have written. I don't even know how many she's written. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few. I think I looked up this author after I finished this book, and I'm pretty sure there's quite a few. Definitely, you guys, this is a good book. Pick it up. You will love it. Let me know if you have read it already and what you thought about it. But I just thought everything was packed into this, and the surprising turns of events that happen throughout the book are really, really good. Book number 3 was The Marriage Pact by Michelle Richmond. I gave it 4 stars. The Goodreads rating is 3.62. Okay, I'm gonna read you like the synopsis of the book. Never mention the pact to anyone. The goal of the pact is simple. Keep marriages happy and intact. There are rules. Always answer the phone when your spouse calls. Monthly thoughtful gifts to each other and quarterly trips together. Seems simple, right? So here we have newlyweds Alice and Jake. They just got married. Alice is a successful lawyer. She was also in a well-known band, rock band, like years and years and years prior. They receive a gift from one of Alice's wealthy clients. The gift was a chance to join this mysterious group called the Pact. Now, at first, the Pact seemed like it was a good thing. You know, it's all about, making your marriage better, things you can do with you, being thoughtful with your partner. There's parties, there's a big community, there's social events that, everybody's like-minded. They all, are married and they want to keep their marriage intact. So it all seems really good from the beginning. Alice and Jake are going to find out what happens when you break the rules of the pact, because somebody breaks the rules or both of them breaks the rules. I'm not going to give it away, but there are rules that are broken, and the pact is very, very serious when it comes to enforcing that the rules are not broken, because kind of like the vows of marriage, the pact is for life. I'm going to say, going into this book, I'm going to tell you something that I didn't know going into it. You have to be able to accept that several parts of this book are a little far-fetched. You have to be able to kind of suspend your disbelief when it comes to certain things. And if you can look past that, then you are going to enjoy the book. If you cannot look past that type of thing, then I wouldn't even bother reading it, because you are just going to be rolling your eyes throughout the last half of the book, honestly. For me, I do enjoy that kind of thing. I like to read fantasy and I like to read some sci-fi stuff, because it definitely, for me, the last half of the book or so definitely gave me kind of sci-fi vibes to it. So I'm not talking like sci-fi and like in space, that kind of thing. I'm just talking about things that are just a little far-fetched. So to me, that appeals to me, so I was just fine with it. For me, reading is about imagination and just enjoying yourself, but I know some people don't quite go that route when they're reading a book. So just know that going in. I definitely also thought this had like vibes of the Stepford Wives to me. So to me, that's kind of like sci-fi stuff. If you've ever watched the movie Stepford Wives, I don't know why it just kind of gave me those vibes. It really just, you'll know if you read the book, you'll know. But it definitely gave me those vibes, and I was there for it. I was totally there for it. It's fast-paced reading. It's very entertaining. One thing that I absolutely loved about this book is it was told from the husband's point of view, which I feel like is so unique and interesting. For the most part, most books I feel like are either told from both point of views or from like the wife or the woman. And this was told 100% from the man's point of view, which I thought was just super, super interesting. And the ending. I feel like that it was left to where, like, if there was ever a second book, there could be one. And it just could have went both ways. Like you're either going to love the ending because of how it ended, or you're going to hate it because you wish they would have done something else. So I don't want to give anything else away, but I could see either situation happening, and I would have been actually okay with either one of the situations, to be honest. I really liked the ending, and I think it was just really good, but I did not see it coming at all. Like, it totally took me by surprise. It was a really fun, just entertaining read. Book number 4 was The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I gave it 4 stars. The Goodreads rating is 4.1. This was such a just delightful, happy book. It was sweet, it was endearing. It just made me smile and laugh throughout the entire thing. It was just such a good book. It was just heartwarming, all around, just heartwarming. The book is set in London. I have been finding myself like reading a lot of books lately that are set in other countries, which is interesting to me because sometimes they'll use words that I just don't recognize, or sometimes I even have to look up some stuff. Like, it'll be like some kind of slang that I don't quite get. So definitely have been enjoying that though. But even like this, the flat share, like they call it a flat. Like, in the United States, they don't call them flats. They're like apartments. you know, so, or house. I'm assuming this was an apartment is what it sounded like. I've just been finding myself really drawn towards those type of books. So we have Tiffy and Leon. Tiffy and Leon share a flat and a bed, but yet they've never met. Tiffy needed a cheap flat to live in after a really bad breakup that she had. Leon, he works nights as a hospice nurse and he needs some extra cash. So since Tiffy works during the day and Leon works at night, it's a perfect situation. So Tiffy has it in the night after she gets off work all the way until morning before she leaves for work. Leon comes home from work. He has it all night. The weekends, Tiffy has it because Leon spends the weekends with his girlfriend. So it's a perfect situation for both of them. He gets his extra cash. Tiffy has a place to live. And there you go. It's a little weird, you know, when you talk about like sharing a bed, but there are certain rules that they have with each other, and you'll see that it's, you know, again, it's another one of those things that maybe you be rolling your eyes around. So it is kind of a weird situation, but I guess if people are desperate, they do what they have to do. It all is going really good, but then you have obsessive ex-boyfriends, you have girlfriends, you have demanding clients, you have family drama. So all this stuff is also thrown in to kind of put a wrench in their perfect situation. And that's always really fun to read, I feel like. Also, another thing I am such a sucker for is books that have documents and notes. So they have a word for them. They're like, it's like with an E. It's like epistolary. I wrote it down. Epistolary. I don't know how to say it. I'll try to remember to put the word here across the screen. But basically, it's books that are written like with diary entries, letters. You have documents. So it could be emails, text messages, that kind of thing. I love books that are written in that way, and this has a little bit of that thrown in there because they do correspond with each other with post-it notes because they don't see each other. They never see each other, so they have to correspond somehow, and that's how they do it. And that part of the book is what just sucked me in. Like, I was there for it all the way through. I absolutely loved it. I also loved all the characters in the book. I just adore them. The supporting characters, the main characters, I love them all. I thought every single one of them was relatable, realistic. This was definitely a slow burning romance book though. I mean, it takes a long time to build that up. But when it finally gets there, it's totally worth it. This book is not all fun and romance. There are some really serious situations that are woven in between, and it's, you know, can be some triggers for some people. Some layers of abuse, stalking, those kind of things are also kind of woven in there. So just so you know that. The book is told in two different points of view. We have Tiffy and we have Leon. The only thing that I would say that made maybe the reason why it wasn't a 5-star for me was because Tiffy's chapters were fine. Like, they were written just dialogue. It was from her own mind, what she was thinking at the time. But Leon's chapters were written super weird. Like, they were a script. Like, almost it would have, you know, Tiffy said, Leon said, or whoever he was talking to, you know, there was like he said, she said type stuff. And it wasn't written like that in the other chapters. So not sure why the author did this with Leon's chapters. To me, it didn't make any sense, especially when the chapter would be clearly identified as Leon's thoughts. So it just did not make any sense to me. It was just very odd. That it did kind of throw me off in the beginning, but then once I got used to it, I didn't even think about it anymore once I started really getting into the story. I loved the ending. It was completely appropriate considering how Tiffy and Leon's relationship started. So if you're looking for an uplifting, delightful read, then definitely check this one out. Beth O'Leary has another book coming out, I don't think until like June. And what is it called? The Road Trip. It sounds so good. I have it on my TBR list, so I definitely hope I can get that one picked up at either the library or maybe it'll be on sale or something. But anyway, it sounds really, really good as well. And the last book that I literally just finished reading yesterday, so on April 30th, I finished reading this book, and it was called The Other Mrs. Miller by Allison Dixon. I gave it 4 stars. The Goodreads rating is 3.55. Okay, let me tell you the synopsis, as you will find it on the back of the book or on Goodreads, like where I see them. This is 2 women are watching each other. Phoebe Miller isn't sure when the car starts showing up in her neighborhood and why the driver appears to be watching her. Phoebe is just an unhappy housewife who hardly ever leaves her house. So when a new family moves in across the street from Phoebe, she finds herself completely drawn to the wife. She's just gossipy, just opposite of everything that Phoebe is, like kind of an introvert. Vicky is very much of an extrovert, and she's just kind of a fresher breath of air for Phoebe, and probably exactly what she wanted, and just the best friend that she has needed and has had wanted for a very long time. But Phoebe also finds herself drawn to Jake, who is Vicky's college-bound son. He's 18 years old. He is just getting ready to head off to college, and Jake offers a different kind of companionship to Phoebe that she also feels like maybe she has been needing in her life. Action may be exactly what Phoebe needs, except for now it has taken her off of, you know, being focused on who this person is in this blue car that seems to be watching her. And so she has stopped like paying attention to that woman, but now maybe that was a mistake to not be keeping your eye on who this person is that's watching you. Again, this book, in the beginning, it just seems like any other book. Then the last half, the second half of the book, can be a little far-fetched. It's so well written and so entertaining. It totally sucked me in. The first part of the book really is learning about all the characters that are making up every situation and all the relationship building. So you're getting to know Phoebe, you're getting to know her husband, you're getting to know the neighbors across the street. That's what the first half of the book is, and all the different, you know, backstories and situations for the characters. And then the second half of the book. It took me completely by surprise. And this is how much by surprise that it took me. This twist. Okay, so I'm reading, and then it turns to the second part of the book, and you knew it was part 2 by what it was titled. I don't want to give it away. And I started reading, and I was like, what? And I thought maybe I was sleep reading. So y'all, I read mostly right before I go to bed. And there has been times when I've fallen asleep and I go to pick up the book again and I realize I don't remember like where I'm at, and I have to go back a few pages because obviously I was flipping through. I use an e-reader, and I was obviously flipping through like half asleep and half reading. I thought I may have done that. So I flip back a few pages and I'm reading. No, what the heck? So I flip back up. Wow, like it took me so by surprise. What a major twist the second part of the book is. And honestly, like a lot of times an author has trouble pulling off such a major twist in the story. I mean, I'm talking like books that take a total like left turn, like just like that. And there's some authors that cannot do that well. And I've read many books where you're just like don't even want to finish reading it. This author did so good with that. It was good. The last twist in the book, so the ending was really predictable. It was kind of what I was thinking leading up to it, but it was still enjoyable. I was glad how it turned out. I was fine with it, you know, confirming what I was already believing, because you were catching yourself second guessing, but you really kind of had that in the back of your mind, like, I know. And then when it was confirmed at the end, it was more just like, yep, I had it, but it wasn't like in one of those like, you know, I figured it out again. It wasn't like that. It was totally in a good way that you were led on that you were probably right from the very beginning. It was just such a good book, you guys. Definitely check it out. I think you will enjoy it. But let me know what you guys read in the month of April. Let me know if any of these books sound interesting to you. I will have all the books that I read linked down below, and you can go check those out over on Amazon, and also link their Goodreads page down there. My Goodreads page is linked down there if you'd like to follow me or be friends on Goodreads, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.